Carpy's the captain, we run this show.
Alright, so I'm going to show you guys the multi-combi rig that I've been favouring lately. I've had 3 takes on it. 2 have been landed. The 3rd was a cut off, and I'm certain if it hadn't cut me off on a muscle bed, I would have landed that as well. In my opinion, I love the multi-rig, but this combi multi-rig is amazing. It's Daryl Peck's combi rig. So yeah, let's go. Let's show you how I'll do this. Right, so I'll start with the stiff link boom, which I'll pull out. I'll keep it on the reel, and the combi rig loop braid camouflage. Yeah, in £20. This braid has been brought out specifically for the multi rig, the combi multi. So I'll take a knife section. It don't really matter, just a rough section. I'll take a rough section off of there. Grab your scissors. Make a cut. That's all you need that for. That's out of the way. You fold it in half. Literally create the loop. This is the section that's going to make your multi-rig loop. So I'll join both ends up, and then I just put it together as a pair, nice and tight as a loop. Right, now with this, you get the boom. Need I've got my rig board here for my measurements, because it needs to be measured just right. Now with the stiff link boom, again, what you need to do is literally just fold it over, create a loop at the end, and then doing this is you're going to create an Albright knot. So keep that. You want this. This is going to be the trickiest part of the second most trickiest part of the rig, believe it or not. So you want this nice and tight, and you bring this loop of the braid up through the loop that you've just created on your stiff link, like this. Now, depending on what size hooks you favour, I favour size 4. A lot of people favour size 6. Now, for the perfect length for this multi-rig, if you're using size 6, well, I'll do it in size 4. I'll show you on size 4 because I'm using size 4, and then I can tell you the difference. So you get this loop and you hold it. You've got to hold it tight, right tight, where the loops come out. Now this loop to the boom from here, you want it at 3.5 centimeters before you start tying the Albright knot. Where are we at? The 3.5. Right, now you hold that loop and that braid tight, and then with the 2 loops, the 2 tag ends that you roll together, you go around 7 times around your stiff link. Try and keep it nice and neat and tight. That's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6, that's 7. And then the tag ends of the braid you pass back up through the loop that you've created on the stiff link, the same way the end loop exits. So that comes up from the bottom and out through the top. So you do that, same with the tag ends. They come up and out. And once you've done that, just give it a little tightening up. And what I tend to do is give it a little lick. And first things first, with the tag ends, just pull the tag ends. Pull tag ends tight. Pull the tag ends tight. Right, now pull, once they're tight, you've pulled them tight, pull the braid tag ends out of the way. Get your rig pillar. Open the loop up, obviously. Put your rig pillar in. and that. 2 tag ends leaving out loose, just to give it a pull tight, just to pull the knot tight. Now, this is where you're going to see whether I failed or not. A size 4, you do it at 3.5 centimeters. This loop, this braided section for a size 4, you want at 4.5 centimeters when tied, and 3.5 centimeters when tied for a size 6. So on a size 6, instead of measuring out 3.5 at the beginning, you measure out 2.5. On a size 4, you measure out 3.5, and that should be roughly about 4 to 4.5 centimeters. There we go. Yeah, just under 4.5 centimeters. So not bad at all. This Albright knot is really good. I love it. It doesn't slip. It doesn't slip very often. You cut these. Get your scissors. Cut the tag ends off. Cut the tag ends off here. Like I say, that's the second most difficult part. Now I'll measure this out at roughly, call it about 8 to 9 inches. I like my rigs to be 7, so I cut the boom at about 8 to 9 inches. Anti-tangle sleeve. Some people don't use them, some people use a ring swivel, but me personally, I prefer a quick change swivel on my leg clip system, so I make the loop in the end of my rig rather than having a ring swivel. So I slide that on, and again, a lot of people with the stiff boom like to use, I prefer the small crimps. Again, it's just personal preference. This is, use large if you like, if you've got better confidence in them, but me personally, I prefer these small. And again, it's up to you. If you want to vary with it, with the rig length, then go for it. But I've found 7 inches to be perfect, so that needs to be seven. Lovely. You get your crimps, crimping tool, don't matter what make it is. Give that a good crimp. Now a lot of people only do don't mess about with it too much, but me personally, just a peace of mind, I'll crimp it one way, I'll turn it around, and then I'll crimp it the other. Again, this is just a personal preference for my peace of mind that it's even crimped. Nice little loop for your quick change. Cut the tag end off. Again, you don't need to cut. I tend not to cut these short, just in case of any slippage. So I'll leave a good about a centimetre. Doesn't matter really with that tag end, because that tag end is hidden inside the anti-tangle sleeve, right side. Okay. Now down to this section. Right, so from here, what you're going to want is, again, these are made specifically for these rigs. Yeah, it's Darryl Peck design, so if you want to use normal kickers, use a normal kicker. But again, my personal preference is, I trust Darryl Peck, and I'm sure every other angler should. Yeah, so, and I've done it the way that he does it, and it's worked for me. Like I say, I've had I've had 3 takes, 3 hookups, and the only one I haven't managed to get in is because of being cut off on muscles. So you've got your kicker. Now obviously your kicker goes on first. You're going to want to pull that all the way up. And then I prefer size 4 wide gapes. Again, it doesn't really matter what hook pattern you use, or what hooks, what brand or whatever, or just use whatever hook you're confident with. Just comes with the size, like I say, with the sizes. If you're making them with a size 4, you want your loop to start the all-bright knot before you tie your all-bright knot. For a size 4, you want it at 3.5 centimeters, and for a size 6, you want it at 2.5 centimeters. Okay, now you pass the loop through the front of the eye, and now you want is a micro swivel, bait swivel. Excuse me, I'm doing this on the bank in the sun. And again, it doesn't really matter which brands you use. As you can see here, these are actually OMC, the OMC bait swivels, micro ring swivels, should we say, or bait swivels, as that's common as know them as. And obviously the big ring onto the loop. And once that's done, you then you open the loop up, and you bring that down over the shank of the hook, so the shank goes through the middle of the loop if you can open it. So the shank goes through the loop, bring it round over the point, like so. Okay, now this is the part that I found quite tricky, but I believe I've found a good way of doing it. Again, this is all going to be, everyone has their own knacks doing this. Now what I tend to do is I will moisten up the eye and the kicker, because these kickers are tight. My crimping pliers on the grooves that you crimp in are clamped down on the shank of the hook, like so. Keep the braid along the back of the hook, along the shank of the hook, because then that sits in the groove, and I find you don't cause much damage, or if any damage to the braid on the back of the hook. And then holding this tight, you're going to need to hold this tight because it's really fiddly, and then push the kicker on, like so. Be really careful with your hook point. As you can see, my hook point has been kept safe. Open it up, pull it out, and then check your hook point's okay. I tend to dig it on my nail. That's cool. And then yeah, that's lovely. And then what you do is, with the multi-combi, I'm sure as most of you know, just give it a slight pull up, and you want the ring swivel, the micro ring swivel, to sit basically opposite where the barb is, or if you're micro barbed, or if you're barbless waters, where the barb would be. Now there is something that I'd like, the anti-tangle sleeve I do different than Pecky, and also here he tends to use silicone, whereas myself personally, if I can find it,
There's some tape,
which I can't, again, one of the only OMC products that I tend to use is I use the tungsten putty. This I've found, in my opinion, which might not be the same as others, but in my opinion, this is by far the best putty on the market. It really is. Break off a little bit of putty. To get a little mould ground in with the fingers, just to make it a little bit supple, and then I'll squeeze it. I'll try and make almost like a button. So I'll press the Albright knot into the edge. Now again, people might have different ways of doing it, but again, this is the way I do it, is I press it on the edge of the putty. I fold that edge, that end edge over, and I fold the other edges over, and then literally just put it in my fingers, give it a little twist, and roll it like a sausage. And you can just neaten it up as much as you need to, as much as you want. And another thing I've found with putty, don't play with it too much. You know, if you've got your nigh on perfect, then don't try to get it absolutely perfect, because you won't. There we go. And then obviously with the boom, as you can see here, it's a bit bent. You will need to steam it, which I will do, and I won't bore you guys with it, but there you have it. The multi-combi rig. And then, like I say, in my opinion, this is by far the greatest bottom bait wafter rig you could want. Absolutely outstanding. I've set one up on a snowman rig. I've already got one set up on a snowman rig, quickly balanced. I'll show you guys how I like them to sit. As you can see, multi-combi, again set up in a snowman position. And I like the leg clip system, quick change leg clip system. And as you can see, the hook, I like the hook to be lying flat, and then that sits, the critically balanced bait will sit just above. Now you don't need to do it as a snowman. Obviously do bait it however you want to bait it, but yeah, I like a bit of a snowman. And yeah, that's what's catching me in my fish.